Welcome to today's video. In this game, I'm going to show you how to play the Delayed Wing Gambit against the Sicilian Defense. This is a sharp and aggressive opening that aims to catch your opponent off guard, disrupt their pawn structure, and gain a strong initiative on the queen side. Whether you're new to this gambit or looking to improve your strategy, I'll break down the moves and key ideas step by step. Let's dive right into the game and see how it plays out. White starts by pushing the king's pawn 2 squares forward to control the center. Black responds by pushing their queen's bishop pawn 2 squares forward, entering the Sicilian defense. White immediately plays a 3, a quiet move preparing for an early b4 push. Black develops the queenside knight to c6, keeping the pressure on the center. White now pushes the rook's pawn 2 squares forward to b4, offering the delayed wing gambit. Black accepts the gambit, capturing the pawn with their c5 pawn. White recaptures immediately with the a pawn, opening the a file. Black captures again, taking the b4 pawn with their knight. White strikes back by pushing the queen's bishop pawn to c3, kicking the knight. Black retreats the knight back to c6. Now White builds a strong center, pushing the queen's pawn 2 squares forward to d4. Black responds symmetrically by pushing their d-pawn 2 squares forward. White captures the pawn with the pawn from e4. Black recaptures with the queen, bringing it to the center. White now develops the queenside knight to a 3. The idea is to jump the knight to b5, targeting the c7 square with a fork against the king and rook. Black develops the kingside knight to f6, but this gives White a big initiative. White immediately hops the knight into b5, threatening a fork. Black retreats the queen back to d8 to cover the threat. White takes the initiative and pushes the d-pawn forward to d5, kicking the knight again. Black plays their knight forward to e5, attacking but walking into tactical problems. White calmly develops the dark squared bishop to f4, aiming at the weak c7 square and increasing pressure. Black defends by moving their other knight to d7, trying to shield their position. Now White brings the queen out to e2, adding more pressure onto the pinned knight on e5. Black tries to defend by pushing their f-pawn to f6, but now White is completely in control. At this point, White has excellent piece activity, better development, and is threatening to win material very soon. This is a game I played against a 2,200 rated opponent. Let's dive into how I use tactical ideas to win this one. I start with a classic king's pawn move, pushing my pawn 2 squares forward to control the center. My opponent responds with the Sicilian defense, pushing their queen's pawn 2 squares. I decide to take an offbeat approach and push my pawn 1 square forward on the queen side. They develop their knight to attack the center. I continue with a strong move, advancing my queenside pawn 2 squares to challenge the center. Black captures the pawn with their queen's pawn. I recapture with my rook's pawn, opening up the queen side. Black grabs the pawn with their knight, diving deep into my territory. I develop my queen's knight to put pressure on the center. Black retreats their knight to the center, trying to solidify their position. I keep pushing forward by advancing my king's pawn 2 squares to gain more space. Black responds by pushing their pawn to challenge my central control. I exchange pawns in the center, and Black recaptures with their queen, bringing it out early. I develop my knight to a more aggressive position, eyeing key squares and threatening attacks. Black pushes their king's pawn forward, looking to expand on the king side. I reposition my knight to a powerful square, increasing the pressure on their position. Now Black makes a critical mistake by pushing their queen's pawn forward again, which opens up attacking lines for me. Instead of this, qd8 would have been much safer. I seize the opportunity with d5, taking control of the center and forcing Black's hand. Black tries to hold on to their position by bringing their knight to defend. I push my pawn to d6, threatening further complications in their camp. Then I move my knight to c7, setting up a devastating attack and forcing their king into a corner. Black is forced to move their king to kd7, But now it's too late. With a final beautiful move, I push my bishop to bb5, and it's checkmate. The Black King has nowhere to go, and I seal the victory. Thanks for watching. Remember, it's all about finding the right moment to attack